is something that's totally different about life that in part you can do nothing about, right? You're not going to grow back legs. You're not going to grow back a finger. It's the reality of it. But was there crisis about it? There's the trauma that your body has to recover from, but mentally, no, there was never a crisis for me. I like to think all the training that you do in the military, you're constantly training to move across the battlefield, to undertake enemies, to overcome whatever the obstacles are in front of you, and in the end, to never quit.
Welcome to the Block and Tackle Show, hosted by Karl Block. He'll be tackling some of the biggest issues in business today. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karl Block, host of the Block and Tackle Show. Today, my guest is a true public servant and patriotic American, Congressman Brian Mast. He served for over 12 years in the U.S. Army as an IED and bomb expert with JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command. And when deployed in Afghanistan, he was badly injured by an IED, losing both of his legs. But Brian never stopped serving. He worked in national defense. He earned a degree at Harvard. He went on to serve in Congress, where he's now in his 5th term representing Florida's 21st district. He's fighting for national security, trade deals, opportunities for businesses, big and small. Welcome to the show, Congressman Mast.
I'm glad to be with you. I got blown up, so clearly I wasn't that much of an expert.
Something, I appreciate your humility, and I am going to ask you to unpack a little bit about that. In terms of your bio, I have had former generals on. I've had very distinguished people. Nobody that's won the Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Award, the Army Commendation Medal for Valor. You're a pretty distinguished guy and obviously courageous. And I don't mind telling you that I know other people who have been trained in IEDs, and they will say, you realize how incredibly dangerous this is and the mindset of courage that you have to do this. So you're actually...
We have a motto as bomb technicians. The motto is initial success or total failure. You get it right or you get it wrong. There's not a lot of in between when you're working with them. So.
No, I mean, I could see that it is kind of binary. But then, even as you're rehabilitating, you're working with the National Nuclear Security Administration, ATF. You don't quit, Brian. You don't quit. You just move forward. And I guess I want to ask you, so right after the accident happens and you're in the hospital, did you ever give up hope? I mean, was there ever like a crisis of confidence moment for you where, you're like, my life is irrevocably changed and never going to be the same, and I don't know what I'm going to do?
Well, undoubtedly, you're reflecting on the fact that there is a permanent change. There's a new normal to life. There is something that's totally different about life that in part you can do nothing about, right? You're not going to grow back legs. You're not going to grow back a finger. It's the reality of it. But was there crisis about it? There's the trauma that your body has to recover from, but mentally, no, there was never a crisis for me. I like to think all the training that you do in the military, you're constantly training to move across the battlefield, to undertake enemies, to overcome whatever the obstacles are in front of you, and in the end, to never quit. And so, probably the most important time to draw upon that ever in my life was after that injury that took place. That was the time to draw upon all of those things. And so, it did just become the next mission and the most important mission for the personal side of my life. I'm in the hospital and okay, what do I do now? Well, I want to get out of this hospital as quick as possible. So, let me try to put more hours into physical therapy than not more than anybody else. I put more in than anybody else. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to put as many in as possible. That resulted in more in than anybody else, and that got me out of the hospital. Let me move forward in life. What's the next battlefield that I'm going to be a part of? Well, maybe after in years down the road, I'll get to be a part of being a lawmaker. That's something that I decided I was going to pursue while I was laying in a hospital bed, looking for the next mission, looking for the next battlefield, looking to move forward. And that's just always the way that I've lived my life. What's the next challenge? What's the next hurdle? What's the next obstacle? The tougher it is, the more I'm going to put let's say a shit-eating grin on my face and grin and bear it and get after it.
So, as you know, not everybody's like that. And I guess I would ask you, for people who have been in combat, they've had a disability of some kind, they may feel like they've lost hope. What's your message to them to not give up and not quit?
I would say the message is this: in large part, we do not control the challenges that we face. Now, if we're out there doing really stupid things, we control, whether we're going to jump into doing more stupid things or not. But we don't control all the challenges that come against us in life. You get in a car accident, right? You're doing your job in the military and something happens, a bullet, a round, an explosion. Those are hazards of that chosen profession. You don't control all of it. What you control every single day about life is what you do in response to the challenges that you face. Any kind of challenges, whether it's a physically challenge, emotionally challenge, a challenge with family, a challenge with work, a challenge with education, a challenge, whatever it is, you control what you do in response to the challenges that you face. And you got to decide, are you going to let them destroy you? And you're going to curl up in a corner and quit? Are you going to own the challenges, look them in the eye and, hit them and beat them down and give them a boot in the backside? You get to make that choice. And I'll say something that I believe to my core, and I've said this 100, maybe 1,000 times. I say it to my kids. You wake up in the United States of America, you wake up under 50 stars, 13 red and white stripes. Every day that you wake up under our flag, you get to decide if today is better than yesterday. Or you decide that today is not better than yesterday, but you make that choice for yourself. And it doesn't matter if yesterday you lost two legs and a finger. You still get to make that choice in our great country.
I believe that, and I just think that there's a lot of people who could take inspiration from you, quite frankly. And your attitude is exemplary. It's I wish I could say it was common, but I don't think it is. But what you do is extraordinary. So I kind of want to talk to you about the other stuff that we know. You are chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee. So a lot of stuff going on in the world. And in particular, you've probably known this for a long time. When the World Trade Organization was founded, people thought that this was going to facilitate free and fair trade, and that even if nations specialized in particular things, that there'd be free bargains, no barriers to entry, no games. And again, even if a country only did two or three things and needed to import other things, they could still get them fairly because other countries needed those two or three things. And then you see American businesses saying, why is the WTO always against us? It almost doesn't matter what the region is, and American businesses are always low in the pecking order. You must see this. And what do you think that, if anything, that Congress can do to try to change that a little bit better for the benefit of American businesses?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, where are we being taken advantage of? And you're specifically tailoring that to WTO. We could talk about that in a host of different places, and it is something that we are really addressing right now. And so I'll talk about it in terms of WTO, and then I'm going to expand it a little bit and say, when you're talking about the WTO, one of the things that's been pointed out for years, let's talk about China's relationship to the WTO. Self-identifying as a developing country, we're all developing. We could all argue that we're all developing every single day, but they're the second largest economy on the face of this earth. They shouldn't be classified as a developing country. The benefits that they reap from that, as from the WTO and self-identifying as a developing country, make for a slanted battlefield. They make for a slanted playing field for the other businesses in the United States of America. That's just one of the big broad strokes that we could address in looking at this. Now, I would say more broadly, as we look even more broadly at this and say there's, I think, three very important foreign policy, national security goals that are going on just with this administration, with President Trump, with Secretary Rubio, with my work with the administration. And it's to say that we not be taken advantage of, we not be taken for granted, and we not be taken lightly. And that goes more broadly to some trade issues. The not taken lightly, that goes more to the military arm, right? When we fly our B-2 bombers over Iran, we drop ordnance doing something that only we have the capability to do. And then later we fly those over the head of Vladimir Putin when he's visiting in Alaska. That's a demonstration to say, do not take us lightly, and a demonstration to say, we are going to protect the national security of the United States of America. The do not take us for granted and do not take advantage of us part, when we have countries that are out there that are supposed to be U.S. allies, we let their goods come into America at this tariff rate and our goods come into their country at this, or this tariff rate. That's taking advantage of the United States of America, and that happens all too often. That's something that there is a reset going on with the multilateral organizations, the multilateral relationships that we have, the bilateral relationships that we have, all in the aim of saying we're not going to be taken advantage of. And it goes for the WTO as well.
Do you feel like that some of these countries are negotiating trade deals with us with the idea that they're going to wait out President Trump and see what happens, so that, they'll seemingly make concessions or make commitments and just slow play?
That happens in just game theory in general. You would be naive to think that doesn't happen, but let's say the more positive side of why this shouldn't happen and how I work to combat that. I identified for you what I think are three things that we're trying to make sure don't get taken advantage of, don't be taken lightly, don't be taken for granted. Now, fundamentally with our allies, as much as we're talking about differences in trade, we afford ourselves, hey, we're going to put America first. We're the United States of America. I'm a representative of America. I'm going to put my country first above all else every single day. And I can afford that. You know what? Europeans are going to put European countries first, whichever one they are. And ASEAN countries are going to put ASEAN countries first, and so on and so on. But there's a special relationship with the United States of America because we have capabilities that nobody else has, because we have powers in defense that nobody else has. We have powers of production in defense, specifically in other places, that nobody else has. And these countries absolutely need us. And because of that necessity, we have, over history, developed relationships of trust. You juxtapose that to, so let's say the United States of America relationship with Japan and Australia and NATO countries, EU countries, Israel, our allies. We have relationships fundamentally grounded in trust. You juxtapose that to China, Iran, Russia, North Korea, Venezuela. They have to manage fundamentally relationships of distrust. We start at a totally different place. And for us to continue managing relationships of trust, we can't allow what you're questioning to happen, because it erodes that trust. It makes for a bad relationship. And if we get to that point, we're setting ourselves back. We're not as strong of an alliance. We're not as strong as a multilateral organization. We're not as strong of a NATO if we have some countries that aren't putting in what their commitments are. When Europe is an economy of scale with more people than us, they should have the capability of defending themselves against Russia, and we should have the ability to stand on our own. They should have the ability to stand on their own, and then when we stand together, we're infinitely stronger. But again, we've gotten to this point, I think, because we haven't asked, the United States of America hasn't asked three important questions. And the questions that I ask foreign leaders that come in every day, the prime minister, the trade minister, the defense minister, the ambassador, the king, queen, crown prince, president of whatever country, when they want to meet, what does my country need from you? What does the United States of America need from you or from your region? Because you should be able to tell me what it is that, why do I care about this beyond the long-term relationship? What do I need from you? What does your country, what do they want from me? What do they want from the United States of America? Because if you're asking for chicken and we're providing fish, then we had the wrong conversation, right? And then the third one being, if we provide what you're asking, do we get what we need? Or do we not? And the United States of America hasn't been asking that question. Okay, you're looking for chicken, we gave you fish. Sorry, so that makes sense. We didn't get what we needed out of the relationship. You're looking for chicken, we gave you chicken, but we didn't get back what we needed. Why is that? That now eroded the trust, and now we're not having we're being taken for granted, we're being taken advantage of. That's what we're trying to move away from in every one of these circumstances, WTO to multilateral to bilateral relationships.
I mean, I would hope that what I'm about to say is a bipartisan statement, that it's about time. I mean, the disadvantages that we've faced are pretty bad, very noticeable, and there's been a lot of largesse for which we haven't gotten rewarded and been taken advantage of. I mean, it's great that that is your focus. I mean, it's probably you're in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. So I think that that's good. In terms of some of these deals that we've cut so far, when some country says we're going to put, or some company or country says we're going to build these factories, we're going to put billions of dollars in this infrastructure. Maybe I'll put it this way. You know, we basically have two teams in this country. You're on one, and the people on the other side of the aisle are on the other team. The other team it is probably in their interest to say whether it's accurate or not. They're making the deals. There's not going to see any results. People are just going to talk. You're not going to see these factories. You're not going to see this business expansion. And so what I would ask you is, when do you think the American people are going to see the tangible stuff? Like, hey, X car company opened up a new factory in South. When do you think we're going to see some of that stuff?
So it used to be the case. There was an old saying, politics stops at the water's edge. What did that mean? It meant, as you're going abroad to these other nations across the Atlantic, across the Pacific, you leave that politics aside because you're just an American that wants to put America first. Now it's turned into a swear word to say, make America great again or America first. That's turned into a swear word, unfortunately. But that was the spirit of politics stops at the water's edge, which used to be the case. So where are you going to see these places? Let's talk about one trade deal specific, or one, let's call it a peace agreement and an arrangement being between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This has been going on for a long period of time, long period of fighting, still hostages held to this point. But this is in the backyard of Russia, former Soviet socialist republics, that now the United States of America, after Russia having the greatest influence still over those countries for the longest period of time up until this point. Now the United States of America swoops in, has the relationship, brokers a deal, and now has this access in all directions of that in this corridor between Asia and Europe and the Middle East in a way that we didn't have before, creating ability to move oil and gas, other things, you name it. It's very important. We see benefit from that just in the ability to conduct commerce, but certainly in the commerce that we get as an output of that as well. Let's bring it back to Europe and look at where we've seen, because of the tone that the president has taken with our European allies, which is, we need a Europe that doesn't need the United States of America. That doesn't mean we're not there for each other. It means we need a Europe that can stand on its own as a partner and not a dependent. We don't need more dependence. And so Europe is now, we see UK saying they're going to put an additional $2 billion into defense for Europe until they reach the point of an additional $20 billion. They could have done it 2 or 3 years ago. They didn't, for a political reason, not do it 2 or 3 years ago. You have EU saying they're going to put 200, 300, 400 billion dollars into European defense. They could have done it 2 or 3 years ago. They didn't do it, right? And this is in response to what's going on in Ukraine. You see Germany saying they're going to put 400 to 500 billion into defense. I have my doubts about what they can do with recruitment, given where a lot of the population has gone there. But to have those commitments to put into defense, those are the results of this. And that comes back, there's other things beside defense articles, but that comes back to the United States of America in a major way. And for one reason, two very important reasons. One, we make the best weapons systems. Hands down, there are other good one-off weapon systems that come out of other countries, and there's partnerships that we have with other countries to develop weapon systems, but there's nobody above and beyond, our Raytheon, our Lockheed Martin, our, Sikorsky, Pratt and Whitney, GE, Boeing, all these that are out there working in tangent with one another to create defense articles. There's nobody above that. Just this last year, there have been conflicts that have gone on where European weapon systems were used and defeated reasonably quickly. And so there is proof to these things.
Do you anticipate that when people are going to buy our stuff from the defense contractors, that they themselves, the defense contractors, may have to literally expand and open up new factories to meet the capacity?
There's no question. Uh, Whether it's in, let's take the whole stack of what goes on into a defense article and the new defense articles that we see emerging, right? So let's just back up and say everybody's familiar with the idea that we have caches of weapons, whether it be 155 millimeter artillery rounds, which there's insatiable appetite for, and have been, artillery rounds have been used, for as long as we've had explosives, basically. It's the explosives that go inside of the artillery rounds or the grenades or the 500-pound bombs that get dropped from an aircraft or larger. There's the explosives that go inside. There's the fusing systems that go on the tip of these things. Is everything that has been parts of legacy military for the Navy, for the Air Force, for the Army, for the Marines, and that people can think about, right? And there still have to be stockpiles of that created. But now we're seeing a new emergence on the battlefield of weaponry that is no longer have to be connected to a driver, whether a driver literally sitting inside of it, manning it like in a jet, or whether a driver on a console or a platform somewhere in some place in the United States, but driving something somewhere in the Middle East that's going through the sky. There doesn't have to be a driver anymore in many cases because you have ordnance and the delivery mechanism for ordnance being trained on AI, like what Ukraine did to Russia, where they said, hey, we're going to train you drones on all of these strategic aircraft for Russia because we have all these old aircraft sitting in Ukraine. We're going to train our drones on these things, and then we're going to send them over deep into Russia on trucks and these flatbed trucks, and then they're going to get released there, and they're going to have already learned what they're looking for. I'm looking for the ones that look like this and not like this, and they're going to go in a very inexpensive but very precise way destroy that. That is new, largely. It's been going on through the Ukraine war. The Yemeni, the Houthis had been doing that, to Saudi Arabia in the past, drone warfare, things like this, but it's relatively new. There are not the caches and the magazines and the stockpiles of these things, just as one example. This is an emerging part of the battlefield, both offensively and what you need to create defensively. And I'm just thinking about the sky right now. That also goes for what you can do in the water. It's what you can do to anti-personnel, what you can do to armor, what you can do to aircraft, you name it. There will be entirely new caches of these things put out there.
In light of the idea that we're going to have new generations of weapons much more rapidly than anybody thought, do you think that the president is going to have to invoke the Defense Production Act because of maybe local groups that don't want the factories expanded or who may file lawsuits to try to stop anything that this president does? Do you foresee that that's a tool that he may have to utilize?
I don't see that being the case right now. Having traveled the country, traveled the world, seen the supply chains of what's going on, this is commerce, this is business, and this is big business. And so, whether you're in California, which is obviously a tech mecca for the United States of America and for the globe, there are a lot of systems that are being, made. They're drone systems by, great companies like Anduril in the LA area and that kind of area and others. And your major companies that people picture in tech, whether it's Google or Amazon or take your pick, they own companies that are out there learning how they're going to do something to move commerce, but how they might also use that to move something in terms of defense. And the list goes on and on. I just use California as an example, the left coast, even in the left coast, this is something that it is recognized and it's being used out there, and it's being used between the Atlantic and the Pacific and all points in between.
I see that, and it's interesting that you brought up Anduril, that they're a relatively nascent company, but look at what they've done, look what their growth is, and look how that's happened. So you probably are familiar with ITAR and CFIUS and EAR, and I hear that from some of the smaller businesses in defense. And as you know, one of the great things about American commerce is startups can become a little bit larger and a little bit larger and do a little bit more. Anduril is a good example. But if they want to sell or bring in capital, they don't always feel like the process is streamlined to make sure that the bad people, which of course it's in the national interest of the United States, to make sure that the bad people aren't investing in their companies. And that's fine. But it's like there's a bureaucratic layer that, some people have said this could be way more efficient. And especially in the information age where you can find out a lot of stuff fast. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It could be way more efficient. You're not saying anything that is not well known by the defense industry, by those that want to get into the defense industry, by the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee and other representatives. That's why I have one task force on my committee, and that one task force on my committee is specifically related to foreign military sales and what we need to do to address how we have that meat grinder of somebody requesting to buy a weapon system. And when I say a weapon system, that doesn't just mean a bomb or a bullet, right? That might mean a jet, but it might mean the engine that goes inside of the jet. It might mean the radio that a service member wears on their hips so they can communicate with the other service members. It might mean a transportation vehicle like a Humvee. It might mean something else, right? It's not just a bomb or a bullet. It's everything in between that. And so when you look at what's going on there and the blocks that exist, CFIUS is important. Why? Because we don't want Russia to come in and buy up 50% of Lockheed Martin. That would be a really big problem. And so the job of CFIUS is to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. And that is vitally important for the national security of the United States of America. And so it's going to continue to exist, hopefully be mature, a more mature entity on a daily basis where it does its job better, and we try to hold it to that, and we're working to make sure that that takes place. That's the whole point of this foreign military sales task force that I've put forward. Now, when you look at ITAR and you look at smaller companies like Anduril and things like that, right? There's also needs to be a mechanism to say we're reviewing all of the weapon systems that are being sold abroad, specifically, not just where a company might have ownership and where somebody might want to invest in the company, but how are things bought and sold? Where do they go to? It might be really good for commerce. Let's say this. There are buyers that would line up if the United States of America said, you know what, we're going to bring our nuclear weapon systems to market and start selling those on the open market. Iran would be in line for those. North Korea would be in line. Probably China and Russia too would be in line. Venezuela, take your pick, right? There would be countries would be lining up if we had the nuclear weapons marketplace. We're not going to have that because it's important that we recognize what are the threats, who are the individuals, who are the countries, who are the monarchies, who are the kingdoms, who are the multilateral, the bilateral, the whatever they are that we are moving weapons systems to. And I have to evaluate that. One of four, basically, that evaluates that in the House. Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, the top minority person, that's a person named Gregory Meeks right now, representative from New York on the Democrat side. We on the Foreign Affairs Committee have to review all foreign military sales and sign off on them. And then also the top Republican and Democrat, majority and minority members on the Armed Services Committee. We have to review all of those foreign military sales. And that's a very specific part of our job.
What I really find interesting in that, in addition to, I'm going to make a play on words with my show, the blocking and tackling that you do to make sure that, for example, enemies don't get our weapons. It's interesting that I don't think people think about, we don't necessarily want our friends to get some of these weapons. And I have friends, somebody who even was on one of my podcasts, a former general, who said, we need to give Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And for me, I'm not in your space, but I'm like, we don't give those things out like candy, even to people that we may want to help. I think only Australia and maybe the UK have them. And when you give weapon systems to people, even your friends, they can try to copy them. And is that really in our national interest to let that happen?
Intellectual property is something that we could probably speak for hours on with our friends, with China, with a number of different places. And that's a big part of it that we have to deal with. I'm going to add to that to say why we don't always share these things, right? It's just a fact. I don't mean to make light of it, but some toys we're going to keep for ourselves, right? That's just the reality of it. That's national security. That's competitive advantage. We're going to do that. There are some weapon systems that literally only we have the capability to operate, or only we can afford to operate. Let's talk about the B-2 bomber that was used effectively in Iran to use these earth penetrating ordnance. That this was the first time they were used. We are the only ones that have this or the B-2 bombers. Just to purchase one of those B-2 bombers is $1 billion. Okay. So if you talk about, people were talking about, well, let's have Israel get the B-2 bombers. Well, guess what? $1 billion is a vastly significant portion of the Israeli military budget for them to have one aircraft. It's just not a reality in that respect for them to be having one of them, and then the train up that is involved for the pilots for this and things like that. It's just, as much as they're a great ally, that's not a reality because of peripheral circumstances like the budget of your military. And so there's numerous reasons why some things are the only things that we keep for ourselves, and that's a few of the reasons.
Karl Block is both a corporate lawyer and a corporate restructuring partner. Nothing in the podcast should be construed as legal advice.
If you want more info on the show, please visit blockandtackleshow.com. And you can also email me at carl@blockandtackleshow.com. Thanks for tuning in.